For the past 3 months, I've been working on my new horror game. Nowadays, most horror games feel low effort and repetitive, and I can't deny that I've made such games myself, most of them becoming abandoned files sitting on my hard drive. Well, last summer I found the entrance to the locked up abandoned catacombs from beneath my city. If you didn't know, catacombs are human-made underground passages typically used for religious purposes. This gave me the idea to make a horror game where you explore catacombs, but I'm actually going to do it right this time. As always, I started the project by writing a simple first-person movement script and then began working on the player's inventory. I want to keep UI elements to a minimum, so instead of the typical inventory systems you see in games, I decided to take inspiration from the forest and make it 3D. So I downloaded a backpack model from Sketchfab and rigged it in Blender. In Unity, I animated it and then wrote a script that moves the camera to where you're pointing. But there was a problem. The backpack would clip through the other objects in the scene. To fix this, I created an overlay camera that renders the backpack on a separate layer, preventing it from clipping through other objects. I found these pre-rigged arms on the internet and they're perfect for what I'm trying to achieve. Each arm needs to play separate animations while still using the same rig. So I created 2 avatar masks, one for each arm, allowing me to play different animations on both arms at the same time. Just like with the backpack, I added the arms to the overlay layer to prevent them from clipping through other objects. When it came to the item system, I knew I needed something flexible. I created a new class to serve as the base for all the items in the game. This class stores all the basic data and functions every item needs. When creating a new item, I'll make a separate script that inherits from the item class and implement the item's unique mechanics within the use method. Last but not least, I'll give the items an animation. I prefer doing this directly in Unity since it's much faster than constantly having to export the animation from Blender. I'm really happy with how the backpack's turning out. I just want the items to be outlined when you hover your mouse over them. Using the shader graph, I made a simple outline shader to make the items more responsive. With that done, it's finally time to start modeling the tunnels. I started off with a human model as a size reference and began working on the entrance to the catacombs. While I want the game to closely resemble the catacombs I visited, I still turned to Pinterest for a few additional references to help with the design. So here I've imported a prototype of the entrance into Unity to check if the sizing is correct, and I like it. It's missing textures right now, so I applied this brick texture to the walls and the ground can have this ground texture. For the lighting, I just changed the skybox and lowered the intensity of the directional light. To make it look cooler, I also added some post-processing effects. At this point, I needed a way to bend the tunnels. I tried a bunch of different methods until I came across splines. Basically with splines, I can create a pathway for the model to follow by moving these nodes, and they work perfectly with the tunnels. So what I've done here is added a room and given it a rock ceiling to make it look underground. Everything is pretty empty right now, so before we continue with the rest of the tunnels, let's add some props. I want the entrance area to feel like it's been lived in by squatters, so I'm gonna throw in some old mattresses and a bunch of trash. I grabbed this graffiti decal pack for just $3.89 and added them around to give the environment a bit more detail. I also found this Blender add-on. It's $20, but I think it will be super useful. So here I've got a cube and right now it looks pretty boring, but when I press this button it will make the model look damaged. Let's grab the stairs and apply it to them. I did have to fill in the sides of the stairs, but it worked really well. I actually end up using this plugin a lot, so I'm glad I bought it. Using a boolean modifier, I made a hole in this wall which will connect with the rest of the tunnels. I tossed in some broken bricks on the ground and a few sticking out of the wall to make it look like it actually crumbled. From here on, the tunnels start getting a bit tighter and won't be made out of bricks. I used the displacement modifier to make the walls rocky and uneven. To create intersections between tunnels, I used a method I found using boolean modifiers. For each tunnel, I created a separate mesh with the same shape and position. Then I added a boolean modifier to both tunnels so they would cut into each other. I used this method a lot throughout the map and it really made things way easier. Deep in the catacombs, there won't be much oxygen, so I started working on an oxygen inhaler. When you run or do things that take a lot of effort, your stamina will drop, and you'll need to use the oxygen inhaler to quickly bring it back up. You'll also be able to refill it at oxygen tanks found throughout the tunnels. Also, don't worry, I made sure it's not annoying. You'll only need to use it once in a while. Right now, I'm working on the place where you'll find the inhaler. I'll add some planks on the floor and a table where you'll pick it up. But you'll not get it so easily. The room will be closed off by an iron gate, and you'll need a key to open it. I combined several models from Sketchfab to create the gate and then animated it. Somehow I placed it on the wrong side of the room. You might be wondering what this game is all about. When I first started working on it, I wanted the gameplay to be procedurally generated similar to the backrooms. But I had no idea how to code procedurally generated tunnels with rooms that still look polished. So I went with making a story-based game. I started working on the first important part of the story. I began with making a dungeon-looking room that I later called the graveyard. I got inspired by this image I found on Google and added these archways based on that. I used the one-click damage plugin a lot here to roughen things up, then textured everything and I added support beams. I also added some stone rubble around and honestly it started to look pretty good. This room is meant to represent a kid's room with a desk and a piece of paper showing a game of Hangman. I designed it in Photoshop, separating the stickman and the letters into individual images so I could overlay them later in Unity. And you might be thinking, but Misty, a game of Hangman is not creepy at all. Well, a few months ago I found this model of a wooden mannequin and had it sitting on my PC for ages, and it was finally time to put it to use. I also grabbed the 3D model of some ropes and made a few different versions of them. I placed the ropes around the room, then I started working on the mannequins. I gave them two poses, one for when they're sitting and one for when you're holding them. I also gave them an animation for when you place them down. So yeah, you'll be playing Hangman with mannequins. If you guess the right letter, it appears on the paper, but if you guess wrong, the stickman starts to appear. These types of videos take months to make, so if you're enjoying this one, make sure to like and subscribe.
Hai să față.
Da?
Chelete de câine.
Oh fuck. As I mentioned before, I got the idea for this game after finding some underground tunnels. At first I thought they were just part of a sewage system, but I still entered them. Just in case I ran into squatters, I brought my friend along. After walking for a while, we came across a wider area where two passages met. We kept walking for maybe 4 more minutes until we reached this turn that was completely caved in. What was really creepy about the place was that there were candles scattered all over the floor. Mind you, we were already really far from the entrance. There were also carvings in the walls dating back to the 90s. We didn't really find any information about this exact place, so it's still a mystery where it could have went. Back in Unity, I started working on a death cutscene for when the stickman gets fully drawn. I added a giant sphere floating in the sky where I will add another one of these platforms and animate the cutscene. I'm still unsure if it fits in or if it breaks the immersion of the game, so let me know in the comments if I should keep it in. Now, if you actually solve the word, I added a mannequin at the table holding the key that you'll use to open the gate and move forward. At this point, the game didn't have any sound, so I spent the next few hours adding footsteps and other sound effects to make the game feel more alive. I'm loving how this game is turning out, and once it's finished, I'm planning to release it on Steam. In the next video, I'll be adding the game's first monster and expanding the tunnel system. Also, I've just set up channel membership starting at just $1. Members will get early sneak peeks of this game and other future projects, and access to some other cool perks.